Hello, everybody. Welcome. Looks like we're still having some people join in, so we'll give it another minute or so until we kind of get started and kick things off. So if you're on right now while we're waiting, please feel free. You take your last restroom break, go grab some water, coffee, whatever it is, and we'll get started here in just a minute. And while we do wait for everybody to join in, I just want to mention, guys, thank you all for being here throughout today's presentation. Please utilize that chat box if you have any questions, comments, anything like that. We'll kind of go through questions throughout the presentation, and then again towards the end, we'll definitely do a Q&A between you guys, myself, our moderator Sean. He's got a really great presentation today for you guys. So I know I'm excited myself and looking forward to it. He's going to be talking a lot about multifamily investing. So hope you guys are excited. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know we still have some people joining in, but we'll kick it off, and I'll take a little bit of time, and then we'll have Sean go. So, like I said, Sean Thompson is going to be doing the presentation today, talking about why asset management is so important in multifamily. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about Quest, what we do. We always have some new faces, new people who are a little bit unfamiliar with who Quest is and what we do. So first, guys, is our disclaimer. We Quest and as an extension myself, we don't give any sort of tax, legal, or investment advice. So please bear that in mind as we go through this presentation. This is strictly for your education to help you expand your knowledge on private investing, on multifamily investing. So please keep that in mind. Next, a little bit about who is Quest. So we are actually one of the largest or potentially the largest self-directed IRA custodian in Texas, and continuing to grow. We have over 20,000 active investor clients, not just within Texas, but across the country. And I know it says 2 billion. That's actually closer, probably if you round up, closer to 3 billion. Now we're sitting at around 2.65 billion assets under management. And then we have about 100 employees, continuing to grow, like I said, and 34 certified IRA service professionals. And that, what we call the CISP certification, is actually not an easy one to acquire. I'm personally still working for mine. And it's a pretty rigorous training course, a lot of studying that goes into it, a lot of hours studying, and then you have to take, a several-hour exam at the end to get that CISP certification. Last thing, guys, is we have about $400 million in undirected cash, meaning that our clients are looking for deals. They're looking to, find places to invest their money. And that's why we continue to bring people on like Sean, who can educate and help our clients to kind of learn and figure out what's going to be best for them, right? So moving on, if you do like these types of videos, you like our webinars, you want to see more of them, we have all of these we record, they're posted on our YouTube and on our Facebook channels about maybe 5 minutes after the webinar ends. So this one will be recorded and posted on there. All of our past ones and future webinars will be on there. Yes, Yvonne, these sessions are recorded. You must have typed that before. I guess I addressed that. But yes, so we record them. We put them on our YouTube channel. You can find all of them on there. And like I said, 5 minutes after the webinar, we'll have it posted on there. But yeah, please follow us on YouTube. Like us on Facebook if you do like these kind of classes. Last thing is we have a lot of other events as well. So the first one you see there is the one we have going on right now, the Tuesday class. But we have self-directed IRA webinars every week. So our Tuesday, and then the self-directed IRA Saturdays as well. Those happen once at noon every Tuesday and Saturday every week. So please join those. If you're interested in what the topic is going to be, you can find that out on our website. But we do those twice a week. The other thing is our virtual happy hour happens on the fourth Wednesday of every month. Starts at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 7:30 Eastern. And we have a lot of people come on from across the country. This is a national national networking event where we have people come on, they pitch their deals, they kind of explain why they're there, and we give everybody a chance to speak, talk about what they want to invest in or what deals they have if they're looking for investors. And just a great opportunity to network, socialize, kind of build your book of business and your network. So please come out to those. We're trying to grow that event. And one of our other IRA specialists, Nicole Bako, who is typically the host for that, she's great. She's looking to kind of bring more people on and continue to grow the event. So please make it out to that. And like I mentioned, all of our classes and webinars we record, we post them on our YouTube and Facebook pages. Next thing is one of the bigger events we have coming up on December 9th and 10th. This is actually a Tuesday event that's going to be completely online. It's actually going to be doing kind of a market recap and forecasting for 2022 and then looking forward to 2023. So on day one, December 9th, we will be doing a recap, kind of looking at what we saw in 2022, the trends that we saw, what we noticed, and kind of segueing into 2023, how some of these things that we saw might affect what's to come. We're going to have tons of experts on panels, Q&A sessions, and things like that, where you guys can learn and help educate yourselves and, have, maybe a little bit more predictability and knowledge of what's to come for 2023 as far as the private investment sector goes. So you can buy these tickets on our website. They're $70 a piece. If you go to www.questtrustcompany.com, you can see the tickets under our events page. Last thing is, guys, if you have any questions for me, any of our other IRA specialists about anything that I mentioned, if you have questions for Sean or need to get in touch with him, I'm sure he'll share his contact information as well, but you can certainly reach out to us in case you miss it or anything like that. So number one is our live chat feature. You can go on our website and actually chat real time with me or, some of our other IRA specialists about your needs. If you want to set up a phone call, anything like that, you can call us anytime, 855-FUN-IRAs, or my email is right there as well, colin.taylor@questtrust.com. So that's pretty simple. You can also scan that QR code if you would like to schedule a consultation. Won't necessarily come to me. One of our IRA specialists will be there to be able to, give you guys a call just whatever time you select. So yeah, that's kind of all my presentation. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Sean on, and we'll kind of let him get his presentation up here. Perfect. So Sean, we really appreciate you being here today and talking to our clients and a lot of the people that we have on today. And I'll kind of let you take it away from here.
All right. Thanks, Colin. I really appreciate it. I want to just acknowledge Quest for, providing all the education that you guys do to your investors. That you guys go above and beyond, I think, with, compared to most groups, so especially to give all the education that you can to investors to help them make their good decisions. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys letting me come on and share a little bit about what we do. I also want to acknowledge everybody for joining us. You guys are taking the steps to educate yourself on investing in alternatives and making the most out of your financial future and your financial, freedom. And I want to acknowledge everybody for that. You did a good job doing that and educating yourself. The goal for me is to sort of share a pivotal role in multifamily that we think is critical. It's often, something that people don't discuss or don't really think about. And it's often a confused role. And we hopefully I can give you guys a couple pointers on how to identify good asset management in your investment decision-making process. So first of all, I'm sure most of you, this isn't your first webinar, and if you haven't heard about asset management before, that's okay. There's a lot of information out there. It can get very confusing about, a good multifamily investment, what that looks like, what those things are. But don't worry, hopefully we can give you some tools to make that decision-making process better. And we don't want to let the confusion of the information slow you down in making a decision on investing in multifamily or in whatever you're going to invest in, eventually. So that's why we're here. So to learn more about the key role, this asset management key role in multifamily investing, we want to give you greater confidence in selecting investments for your portfolio. And hopefully I can give you a couple tools that'll just kind of make that a little bit simpler, and an education on what that role really should look like in multifamily. So whether you're a new or experienced investor, sophisticated, accredited, any of those sort of categories that you fall into, this hopefully will give you some insight. We're going to define for you what asset management is, why it's important in multifamily investing. Hopefully, we can give you some of the key best practices that you should participate. Aspects of asset management that are important, and then how to identify those things. So, how can you, as an investor, a passive investor, identify a good group of sponsors that has asset management as a paramount concern in their business? So over the next 30 minutes, hopefully we can educate you on what asset management is, show you some of the best practices, unlock your confidence in selecting multifamily investments, and make it simpler for you to achieve a higher level of confidence when you're going into those decisions. A little bit about me, just real quickly. We don't talk much about me. Again, my name is Sean. I'm a principal at Thomson Multifamily Group and also Union Asset Advisors. I've been a professional real estate investor for the last 13-ish years. I'm just heading into my 13th year, I think. A couple of qualifiers or notes that I'll make is that I'm not a great public speaker. I really struggle with public speaking, so you guys will have to excuse me if I stutter a little bit or stammer, or look at my notes too often or whatever it is. But please forgive me. I'm to do my best to present the information as good as I can. And then I'm don't claim to be the world's foremost expert on asset management specifically. There's a ton of people out there that know a lot more than I do. We just in my business know how important this role is, and we've taken steps to make sure that we as a group are best in class in what we do. But me specifically, I never claim to be the expert in asset management for sure. But we have built our business around this being an important role for us for sure. A little bit of backstory on how we got to where we are. For me, I always wanted more control over my financial future. I didn't trust that Wall Street was really going to look out for me. A Wall Street mutual fund was just not going to achieve my retirement goals. And I didn't see that Wall Street had my best interest in alignment. So I always looked for alternatives to take control of my financial freedom. And ever since I was younger, I would drive by these apartment complexes and think to myself, man, if I could just own one of those, I'd be all set. That would be, all I would need. It'd be like hitting the lottery kind of thing, and that would be secure my retirement future. But I always thought that hedge funds and REITs and, big Wall Street guys were the ones that controlled that space. So I didn't know that, an average guy like me could do these things through syndications until I met someone that was a syndicator and had a successful business doing that. And I heard their story. And that's when I decided to go. We started our business as a single family operator and decided to move into more multifamily space and expand our operations into that area. This is my daughter. She's my partner. This is a picture of us at a recent event, and just a little story about that. I don't know if I don't want to take too much of your time with my personal life, but so she was going through college just a few years ago, and deciding on what her future would look like. And at the same time, I was making the decision to transition my business from single family to multifamily. And we sat down and have a conversation at dinner one night. I was up visiting her at college. She went to the University of Arkansas. She has her real estate finance degree and marketing minor. And we were having dinner, and she said, "Hey, Dad, I'm thinking about taking a gap year and traveling, Europe and things like that, as college kids will do." And I said, "Baby, I'm not going to pay for that. If anybody's going to travel in Europe for a year, it's going to be me." And she said, "Well, that's why I'm talking to you. I want to figure out how I can have passive income enough so that I can travel the world and not have to worry about getting a job or begging on corners or whatever it is that those the nomadic kids do in backpacking Europe and things like that." So we started working on a strategy for her to have rental properties enough to sort of support her world travels. And at that same time is when I was transitioning my business over to multifamily, and she had decided to maybe change her plans a little bit as we were going through this process. And I just decided, hey, why don't you and I join forces and we'll build this business together? So everything we do today is making decisions on a long-term business for my daughter to take into the future, and for her mom and I to retire on. That's kind of how we develop and build our business. So now we work together on everything we do. She's my partner in all the businesses that we build and start. And for her, it's the, we're trying to build her future, really is what we're trying to do. So I'll talk to you about, an experience that we had. This is kind of one of our horror stories, I guess. And one of the reasons that we feel so strongly about asset management and the role of the asset manager in multifamily. We started with an acquisitions on a property, and we had a highly recommended property management company that we worked with. They had been around; they were seasoned. They had tens and tens of thousands of units under management. They had good references from all the professionals that were we were working with at the time. And the experience we had was we went through the onboarding group and the due diligence group, and then we started with our operations team. We had our regional director, our regional manager, our construction manager, our maintenance manager. So we had our team that they gave us for operating our property. Well, we got everything started. We started, working on the mission, the vision, the plan, got our CapEx execution plan put together, when we're going to start everything, get all those things taken care of. We had a huge, $600,000 or $700,000 capital expenditure plan that we're going to execute, fixing the units and fixing the exteriors and fixing all the property. And, all the operations, how we're going to start to conduct everything, the type of community we wanted to build. And we went through that whole process with our team. And a month in, the entire team just left the company. And so we had to start over. So we got a new team. We got a new regional director, a new regional manager, a new maintenance, new construction. And we started the whole process again. Okay, here's our mission. Here's our vision. Here's the plan that we think we can execute. Here's our CapEx, capital expenditure, and our construction plan. And we started over with them again. And so a month goes by. We're finally starting to get projects, going. We got bids through, all those things, and we lost that team again. So we're on our third team in 3 months of this management company. So the first 90 days have essentially no progress on any of our operational, important issues. And so we've gone through 3 different teams, and we're now 90 days into our operations on this project, and have essentially accomplished, nothing of value towards making and improving our property. And the lessons that we're learning here along the way is that, it's critical to have property management, of course, but if you don't have someone that's overseeing those things from the ownership side, you lose your momentum really easily. And what we ended up doing is we had to go to a new management company. After the third shift, we made a decision, hey, we can't keep putting up with this. We can't keep dealing with these issues. And we went to a new management company. The new management company has been phenomenal. And once we got them on board, we thought, okay, now it's going to be smooth sailing. We can get this, all these things taken care of. But that's not, entirely true. I mean, they've done a much better job. They've done a much more cooperative, they're much more productive. But we still have, things that we're dealing with. We're consumed with weekly meetings. We've got countless construction projects going on. We've got invoices coming in and out. We're having to pay, on everything. We're having to provide checks and balances for asset management or for property management. We're curating reports for our investors. We're monitoring financial reporting, those sorts of things. All that stuff is still occurring. Even in a successful operation, there's still quite a lot of things to do, and make that project successful. So even without the problems that we had, there's still quite a lot to execute on for the asset manager to make certain that the project is going to be successful. So what we did in our business is we decided that, hey, we want to be as good at this as we possibly can be. So we wanted to know what the best practices are in asset management. We wanted to know how we can make asset management, the strongest we can be at doing that role in our business. And so we sought out the help of experts, right? We talked to people that have decades of experience in property management, asset management. We talked to syndicators and operators that were successful in this business. What makes up a good asset management team? What makes up a good asset manager? What are the key roles? What are the key things that we need to monitor? Make sure we're doing. And we set out about in our business to build out effectively our own internal asset management business because we felt so strongly about it. Our investors are important to us. We want to make sure that we're providing them with the best chance to be successful at any of these multifamily investments that we're making. And so what we ended up with at the end of the day is we created something for ourselves that we thought was going to be a fantastic asset management for our investors and for us to be successful. But we realized also that there's a tremendous need for this out in the world of multifamily operators. Someone like me, I'm not built to be an asset manager. I'm a business operator, business owner, investor. But asset management is a very specific strengths and weaknesses and a specific role, and it takes a special person to do that job. Someone like me, who's a great syndicator, great a deal finder, things like that. You don't necessarily want me to also be your asset manager, right? So we decided to create a team around being a business like that, and built our own asset management business that we now offer to other syndicators. It's the Union Asset Advisors, and we have partners that are excellent asset managers and that are great at what they do. So that we're using them as the asset management team for others and for ourselves as well. Okay, so let's dive into what asset management is and what we're here to talk about, really. So let's define the role of an asset manager. This is literally the definition. So I'm just going to read this to you guys. It's a systematic approach to acquiring, maintaining, and trading real estate for optimum growth potential in order to maximize the value of your assets while maintaining an acceptable level of risk. So the two key points here is that you're optimizing potential in your investments and you're trying to mitigate risk. So the role of the asset manager fundamentally are those two things. You want to try and create the best investment possible, and you want to try and take all the risk out as much as you can, which there's always risk in all these things, all these investments, of course. One of the things we get all the time is the role of property management and asset management. They tend to kind of be thought of as maybe one thing, and they're not. They have two very clear and distinct roles, and they're very reliant upon each other to be successful. Property management is absolutely one of the most critical, pivotal roles in large multifamily investing. If you don't have a great property manager, you heard the story I told earlier. If your property management company is just not doing what they're supposed to do, then it's going to ruin your business. Likewise, if your asset manager is not overseeing and helping with the property management to be successful, the same result is going to happen. If you have a great property management company and you have a great asset manager overseeing property management and all the other components of their job, it gives you the best shot at success possible. So some of the differences, I guess we would call out with the PMC or the property management company is, their focus is to cultivate a on-site community that the residents are happy with and proud to live in, and can be, feel good about living there. They take care of the physical asset. They take care of making sure the maintenance is happening. If there's problems with plumbing or problems with lighting or problems with doors, whatever it is, they're there to help make sure those things get repaired for the residents. They're handling all the daily operations. Any phone calls that come in about leasing, anybody that visits the site to take a tour, setting up leases, getting residents onboarded and moved in. Property management handles all those things. They're essentially your on-site everything team, and they take care of all those things for you. Asset management is a different role. It's more of an oversight role for property management. They're setting goals, they're planning, they're setting performance and tracking and reporting for investors. So they're doing a different role of property management, but property management really counts on a good asset manager. And the asset management in this case could be the owner of the property. It could be an asset manager that does that job. But the property management team is really counting on asset management to make decisions on things as well. So if you talk to any property manager, they're going to say, sometimes it's so difficult to get, decisions out of an asset manager on what we're going to do on specific things that, takes days and days and days, and time in these situations are sometimes critical. And having a good asset manager on staff to help property management get those decisions done, or get those resources in place, or whatever it is that they need, property management really works well if you can get those things to them on a timely manner. So the other thing about asset management is that it's effective, oversight and collaboration with property management and communication with property management. It's setting those performance, goals and expectations with property management and the project. But it's also analyzing risk, right? So you want to have an asset manager that is constantly looking at what's going on with our lender. What are our loan terms? When is the loan coming due? Do we have insurance in place that's optimal at the right cost? That's making sure we're covered on everything that we're covered on. All those risk factors, you want to make sure that they're limiting those risk factors as much as possible, and always looking at those things. Checking on the tax rates. Are we paying the least amount of property tax possible? Do we need to make sure that we're litigating those things, or making sure those things are as cheap as possible, right? So in my opinion, the role of the asset manager is the most pivotal role, I think, in multifamily operations, where you can be successful with a great asset manager, and you can also be very unsuccessful with a bad one. You can take the best deal, on paper, and just manage it right into bankruptcy if you're doing a bad job at this role. I think that's why we feel so strongly about it being important. So some of the key things, this isn't everything an asset manager does, but these are some of the key things that asset managers have to make sure that they're overseeing for sure. So again, they're optimizing revenues, making sure things, the income is coming in, and that we're putting those in the right places. Minimizing your expenses, optimizing income, minimizing expenses. Of course, that's what everybody's business wants to do that. So you want to monitor capital markets, making sure that we're taking advantage of any opportunities out there to refinance, or save money on those sorts of things. Providing financial auditing and checks and balances. So when the property management company submits all the financials, where the asset manager needs to go through those things, make sure that we're paying invoices on time, make sure we're hitting all those important things, and then creating KPIs to hit those goals with the financials as well. We're looking at investment performance reporting, so making sure that we're on track with the performance of the investment overall. Site inspections, it's you can't do everything from your desk. You have to get out. These are real assets that we're dealing with. They have a physical presence. You have to get out there and make sure that they're nothing falling down, that there's no trash around. Make sure that everything is going smoothly, right? So site inspections are a critical part of what an asset manager is going to be doing. And then collaboration may be the most critical role of the asset manager. They have to communicate with property management, make sure everybody's on target with the mission, vision, and plan on the property management side, but then also executing or communicating and collaborating with ownership to convey any wishes that the ownership has to property management, and also property management, any concerns that property management has up to the ownership of the property, to make sure that communication is happening between those two. And then ultimately the investor relationship, making sure the investors are getting, clear reports on what's happening on the property every month, and financial, a transparent financial picture and reports on what's happening too. And then I guess finally the lender is strangely enough, you communicate with your lender on a very regular basis, things will change in the escrows, or if you're doing construction projects, there's draws that have to be done with construction. So you're drawing with invoices and completed projects, and communicating all that with your lender, and getting draws monthly. So those things you're communicating with your lender all the time. And so effective collaboration with those groups is a very important part of what an asset manager does. So we'll talk about best practices here. So for us, this is kind of our layout of what we think is the foundation for everything that happens here. So we're going to start with a mission, vision, and plan, create accountability, and then again, a communication I think communication actually runs throughout this whole process. We put it on number 5 here, but we think communications, it's going to be critical from start to finish here for sure. So we start with a mission. Ideally, everybody's going to start with their mission. The mission is essentially the destination that you want to get to when you are planning your project. So we buy a new property, and we say, okay, we want to create a community that does this. We want to create an outcome for our investors of whatever that is, this amount of a return, or this kind of sales price, or whatever that mission is. So we want to create an end destination for our project. I equate this to a road trip. If you're to go just jump in your car and take off, not knowing where you're going to go, it's very hard to get to your destination. You have to select your destination first and then go on your trip, right? So what we're trying to do here is decide where we want to go, and then next we're going to decide how to get there, of course, right? So mission is really the foundation for the direction that everybody, the whole team, ownership, property management, asset management, everybody's going to be headed in for sure. Then we're going to go to vision. So vision is, I guess, using I wanted to actually mention too. So I'm just going to use a quick example in our mission. In this case, just so we can follow a thread throughout this. As an example, our mission for this presentation purposes is to create a safe community for our residents, right? So that's going to be our mission. We want to create a safe community for our residents. That's our overarching destination with this project. And so the vision for us is going to be the path that we're going to take, right? So again, with the trip analogy, you would decide what route you're going to go on. You're going to take this highway, you're going to go down this direction, and that's what our vision is going to be. And you have to have a path that you're going to follow to get to your destination always. And in our example here, our mission is to create a safe community for our residents. A vision may include things like we're going to increase the security, we're going to improve the grounds, and we're going to improve the amenities areas for safety, right? So those are some things that we can do to create a safe community for our residents, right? Those are very simple things to kind of follow, I guess, along. And so here's the plan. The plan is really going to be the tasks and the tools that we're going to use to reach our destination and continue down our path of success here, right? So the plan starts with, risk analysis, financial summaries, performance goal setting. So we got to set goals and KPIs. We're looking at leasing and marketing reviews. We got to make sure the rents are optimized and coming in. We're looking at, how well is the property retaining residents? Is there a lot of turnover? Or can we mitigate that a little bit? Is the income optimized? How is the renovation plan going? Capital plan, or we're creating one or the other, and that can be a very big issue in starting up on any of these assets. And then we're looking at our exit strategies. Do we have multiple exit strategies? What is our exit strategy? What are the variables that we're going to have in that? If markets change, what are we going to do? Exit strategy is something that you have to think of on the front end of any of these operations to make sure that you have options in executing an exit strategy for your investors, again, to optimize and mitigate those risks, right? Optimize the upside, mitigate the downside. And in our example of creating a safe community for our residents, for something that we would include in the plan would be maybe to install new locks. We might improve the outdoor lighting in the common areas and in the units. We might add security systems or tech packages. So some of those would be more detailed tools that we would use to help improve the safety of the community overall, so that we're hitting our mission, right? So we always have to think of, okay, our mission is safe community. We want to improve security in those areas, and then how do we do that? We maybe make lock improvements, security improvements, things like that. So those would be your elements of a plan. And then you would want to be sure and map out how long is that going to take. What will it cost? So every week you're looking at, okay, how many new locks did we get installed? Things like that. So I guess that's the next slide, actually. So accountability. So this is building on top of each other. So if we started with mission, vision, plan, we're hitting accountability now. This is where we measure the success or failures of our plan. Some of the top KPIs here, these are just general KPIs. These are what we think are important ones. There's several, beyond this that you'll measure. I don't know exactly how many we totally measure, but there's dozens and dozens and dozens of KPIs that you'll monitor every month, or actually all the time in your accountability plan. But you're always trying to keep that performance level up. And in our example of safe community for our residents, in this case, we may measure how many locks we're installing every week, what they're going to cost, if they're changing, if we're not hitting a specific number of locks every week, or we're spending too much money. During your weekly calls, you will make adjustments to that, right? So you'll make adjustments to your expenditure plan, or you'll make adjustments to your timing or things like that to accomplish those goals. But those are what you would be measuring in the KPI phase, is how many are we actually putting on every week, and what are they costing, and making adjustments accordingly. Same thing with security systems. Let's say we're going to put new security systems in. You'll make sure that you're putting in the right number of security systems every week, and they're on track for the cost that you expected, that you had in your plan, and those sorts of things. And those are the kind of accountability that you're looking for, KPIs that you're looking for just on executing your plan. So communication runs throughout the process. We put it last, but it really starts at the beginning. So effective communication throughout is critical. And we want to make sure that everybody is on the same plan and timelines going forward. Things will change, in your plan. Sometimes you're getting locks put in really quickly, and you can get that done faster. So you can make an adjustment in your plan to be finished with that project earlier. But if you're not communicating that with the critical members of the team to say, hey, we're ahead of schedule or we're behind schedule, then you can't either make an adjustment to change to something else, or pick up the pace, or whatever it is that you need to do. So effective communication on how successful the property or project is going is going to be a deal killer for you. And you want to make sure that the entire team understands what's happening, all the way from property management to your investors. Just as a frame of reference, I guess, daily and weekly, you'll probably talk to you'll talk to your property management company at least weekly, right? So that would be your bare minimum. You'll have a weekly meeting with your property management company. That may go to every 2 weeks if your property is just singing along and everything's going swimmingly. You could take the 2 weeks, but you still want to communicate with everybody on how things are going as much as possible. We prefer weekly meetings with property management company at the minimum. And the reality is that you're probably talking to the property management company daily, sometimes multiple times a day, depending on if you're doing a lot of construction or if there's a lot going on in your property. Sometimes you need to talk all the time. Hopefully you get to a place in your property where it's stabilized and you can kind of, get to where weekly calls are okay and things are happening pretty smoothly. But I know during, CapEx or construction projects, you're frequently talking to the property management team on the phone. So, and then with ownership, the asset manager will talk to owners and partners daily, weekly, and monthly, right? So you're going to have access to, ownership will have access to asset management every day if they need it. It's really as needed. You want to have at least a weekly kind of briefing with them, and for sure a monthly summary of activity, and then financial reporting for the ownership and partnership group. The same goes for investors. The investors probably monthly is what you could expect. As a passive investor, you should get an executive summary of what's happening, the good, bad, and the ugly on the property and the projects that are going on. And then quarterly, you'll have an assessment of how the quarter went, and then a projection of the next quarter. And then, of course, annually you'll have, again, a projection of, or an assessment of how the last year went, any adjustments you're making, anything that can be expected to coming up, and the forward forecasting on the next year too. So you know, as an investor, passive investor, you should expect to see monthly reporting, quarterly reporting, and annual reporting for sure. So let's figure out some identifying and qualifying ways for you to assess asset management in your decision-making process and when you're looking at multifamily investments. So anytime you're vetting or assessing a multifamily opportunity, you're going to be given pretty much the same few things here every time. There's going to be an investment business plan, or what they call an offering memorandum, or OM. That's just essentially what the sponsor team is expecting to be able to execute on a business plan. They'll generally do a webinar for you, giving you the highlights of what their expectations are, what their concerns are, what the investment opportunity looks like, and so you'll have information on a webinar generally. Then, of course, they're going to give you the legal docs, the subscription agreement, the PPM, and the operating agreements. Those are your basic legal docs that you'll have to sign and fill out and complete. And so how do you figure out from those what, strength is in asset management? Sometimes it's a bit difficult, right? So they'll talk about their team and things like that often in their business plan. But we wanted to just give it a very simple couple questions that you can ask that will help you kind of identify, is asset management important to this group or not, right? So do they think it's something that they're going to figure out, or do they have a plan to execute an asset management role in their investments? And you can quite simply just ask them, what is the reporting you're going to get, right? You should expect, like I said, an executive summary or summary of the operations, and you want them to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. You want to know exactly what's happening. These are not going to go perfectly all the time, these operations, and you want to know when it's going bad. It's not necessarily bad news, it's just the news, right? And so you want to get all the news on what's happening with your investment. And so you should fully expect them to give you that summary and full transparent financials every month. So if they're not providing you a monthly summary and financials, that's a red flag, I would think. And then you want to ask, is there going to be a person dedicated to asset management? There's some fantastic sponsors that are excellent at asset management. They do a phenomenal job. They're amazing at it. And so as long as there's someone that's going to be focused on that role, they don't have to hire an asset manager. It's not a job that has to be filled with anybody specific. As long as the owners are filling that role and doing the job that we just described, that's all you can really ask. You can also, there can be third-party asset management. There can be specific person that's hired just to do asset management. So as long as they have someone in that seat that is dedicated to monitoring, setting all those mission, vision, and plan, creating the accountability and monitoring the accountability and communicating with everyone, as long as they have that, then you're giving yourself the best chance at success with your project for sure. So you can ask just those two simple questions. Say, hey, what's our reporting going to look like? And then, is there someone dedicated to overseeing asset management, the role of asset management in this project? So if you want to, we put together a little, if you want to go deeper, if you want to level up your learning from what we just talked about now, we do have a free, questions you should ask your sponsors if you wanted to go to the next level of what you should know about asset management in the role of the investments you're looking at. We're happy to send this to you. Just scan the code there, and we'll get that out. You guys sign up for that, and we'll get that out to you right away. And it's just a more elaborate version of what the questions I just gave you, and some more information about what to ask when doing that. And then if you really need to get in touch with us, or if you'd like to reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you. If there's any questions that you have about asset management, or anything really, real estate related, multifamily related, we're happy to jump on a call. We're happy to answer emails. You can check out our website, whatever it is. We're always available for those sorts of things. Colin, that's the end of my presentation.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. We've got 15 minutes or so for kind of some Q&A. I think if anybody who has questions or comments or anything like that, anything they'd like to share, please go ahead and type that down in the comment section in the text box, and we'll have Sean address those. I actually do have a couple questions, while we wait for some to come through. What would you say, Sean, is probably the number one most important thing to look for in an asset manager, and maybe the biggest, I guess you could say, red flag of what not to look for?
Yeah, it's so the role of asset manager is a very detailed role. So you want someone that's comfortable with spreadsheets. You want someone that's comfortable with detailed plans, right? So that's what I was saying in my presentation is, I believe in asset management. It's one of the most important things in successful multifamily operations, but like I'm the wrong guy, right? So you don't want me to do it. That's why I built a team around doing that. I went and found people that had those traits, right? You want them very detailed oriented. You want them to have an understanding of property management, asset management. You want to have them, you want them to have those qualities. They should be very, like a lot of engineers, for example, or accountants that are also sponsors on teams. Those guys make great asset managers. Construction project managers. If they have a career background in those sorts of things as a sponsor, those guys will usually make fantastic asset managers because they have that detail oriented mentality that you need really to be good at that job.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Sean, you guys?
I may have been too thorough.
Maybe so. Do you mind throwing your email back up there? I was going to put it down in the comments. That way, if anybody wants to, refer back to that afterwards, they can. Let's see. Perfect. So that way, in the recording, they can refer back and see it in the comments there pretty easily.
Sure.
All righty. If there's no other questions, then Sean, do you have any closing remarks or anything you'd like to close out with?
Well, no, other than just say thank you, Colin. I appreciate you guys. Everything you guys do at Quest to help educate people, it's really amazing. Really appreciate you letting us come on and talk about this. Is such a, I guess it's not really quite a sexy role in multifamily, but I think it's the most pivotal and critical role. So we thank you for letting us come on and talk about it and how it works and how important it is. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We did have one question just come through. So, as an asset manager, do you have a long-term plan? Do you have a long-term plan or shorter-term plans?
Both. So asset manager is going to have a destination that they're trying to hit in the very long term. So we're thinking all the way through to the exit, right? So we're buying this property today. What do we want it to look like when we exit? And we're creating a plan all the way back from that. And you want to start with that mission and then create your vision for the project, and then you'll create detailed plans from that, set up accountabilities to reinforce that plan that's being executed, and then communicate throughout. So you're going to have a destination at the very end of what you want this project to look like. So you're going to have, hey, we want to be at this level with the project. We want to have this returns, whatever that is. And then you're coming all the way back to, okay, what do we do tomorrow to make sure that we're getting to that destination in 5 years or 6 years or whatever that's going to take. And you're planning all the way through that. And so you'll have, weekly executables, monthly executables, quarterly executables, annual executables. So all those things will be building on itself. And then of course the plan is going to change as things change in your project. The example I gave of that horror story, I didn't expect to have the first 3 months of troubles like I did. I expected to go into the project and have an executed CapEx plan going, and those sorts of things. So we had to pivot our decision making and our plan a little bit. We also took 60 days to take the old property management company out and put the new one in. So we really lost the first 5 months of our project success path, and we had to make adjustments to that. So we're always changing along the way as well. So we still have the same destination or same mission with the project. We still want to get to that same mission, but we had to create a new kind of path to get there. So you're doing all of it. It's both.
Awesome. So do you kind of use like a ladder strategy where you're just continuously looking for more projects, more opportunities? And so, you have exits, coming up in a year, and then maybe in 2 years, 3 years, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, each project is a small business all in itself, right? So we run each project independently. They as an overall owner, you will have projects that overlap. You're working on a raise for this one, or you're executing a disposition here, or whatever it is. So you kind of have those things, but you're planning each project and each property independently. They are like little small businesses, each one. So you kind of have to operate them. Unless you have projects that are close by where you can share resources or things like that, they're generally going to run independently of each other. So you want to make sure you're on plan for each individual project, and then as they overlap, you try and take the benefits where you can. That's part of the scalability of multifamily. You can save on maintenance, staff, or shared resources here and there and things like that. But for the most part, they're going to run independently.
Awesome. Well, if there are no other questions, I'll, say, I guess let everybody enjoy the rest of their Tuesday and the rest of the week. Sean, thank you again so much for coming on. As a great presentation. And yeah, we really appreciate you. And as I say that, we do have another question from Elclo. With respect to budget or CapEx, do you set aside money based on yearly plan? Mainly, how do you secure CapEx for your plans?
Let me read through that again. So to budget or CapEx, do you set aside money based on your yearly plan? Mainly, how do you secure CapEx for your plans? So I'm guessing they're thinking of you have to have a CapEx budget in your operations to account for executing on the projects. So yeah, you would want to have capital set aside for beginning projects, the construction projects, and to be able to pay for deposits or materials or whatever it is that you need to be paying for those things. So you definitely want to have in your plan enough reserves for that execution of your CapEx plan. Does that seem what they're asking, Colin?
Yeah, I think that's my understanding of it as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you definitely want to have in your plan enough capital set aside so that you can execute on your capital plan for sure. I think that's the answer to the question. I'm sorry if I misunderstand that. I apologize, but I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, looks like there are no more questions coming through. Yes, he said yes. That explains. Perfect. So, again, thank you, Sean. And yeah, it was a pleasure having you on today, and great presentation. And thanks all.
Thank you, Colin. Thanks everybody for coming, and appreciate it.
All right. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.